the first session is about, how you can change your club in 60 minutes. And I've looked at this video a few different times, and I know Gary's going to chat a little bit about it in a minute. But this is something that you don't have to be doing at this time. It's relevant 5 years ago, and it's going to be relevant 5 years from now. So I have a long list of accolades that I could talk about Gary, but I won't, because we only have a half an hour, and I'm sure you guys want to at least see the video. So I'm just going to take a minute just to talk a little bit about Gary's background. Just for some of you folks might know Gary, but others may not. Gary Levine is associated with the member of the Owen Sound Ontario Club. He is a past international trustee, and he was elected to the International Board for Trustees back in May of 2016. Gary has his Hickson Fellowship, his Walter Zeller Fellowship. He's received the Centennial Award for the work that he did in the Eliminate Project. He's also a holder for the Mel Osborne and Diamond Mel Osborne Fellowship. It must be a little heavy when you're walking around with all these medals, Gary. Gary served with the Eastern Canada and Caribbean District Governor from 2009 to 10. Obviously, he was a Lieutenant Governor. He's been a distinguished president of the Owen Sound Club. He's been a member of the Owen Sound Club since 1990. He's served as the International Kiwanis Membership Chair for the Americas. He's been on the ENC, Eastern Canada and Caribbean Growth Group as their chair, the Formula Chair, and he's the district webmaster for ECNC. And if you've seen our new website in Western Canada, Gary and his team was an integral part of helping us put that together as well. Like I say, I could go on and on, but Gary, we appreciate you taking some time this morning to join us in Western Canada. And Gary's going to introduce this video that we're going to show you in just a minute. But Gary, I will turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Dennis. Now, I have the video here. If you want me to play it, or you can.
Oh, if you've got it, you want to run it, you go right ahead, Gary.
Yep. Sure. You'll just have to allow me to share my screen.
I'm going to do that for you right now.
First of all, let me say it's a privilege, honor to be here with you folks. Is that, it says Cat? That's not Bob, is it, by any chance?
That's Bob.
I thought it was.
I'm at a cabin in British Columbia on my wife's laptop, Gary.
Oh, awesome. Now, Bob and I worked in the Formula together, and we were kind of I don't know what you call this, co-chairs at the time, I suppose, for Western Canada and Eastern Canada. I grew up in Winnipeg myself. Is there anybody here from Winnipeg? Oh,
yeah. I drove through it twice.
You don't, yeah, people do. They kind of go through it, etc. Nobody's here from the St. James Club then, I'm assuming. No. My dad was vice president of that club for numbers of years. We used to have a hotel in Winnipeg, and they'd meet there every week. And that was my first introduction to Kiwanis, and frankly, my first introduction to service. I don't want to take up too much time before playing the video. So I can play it now, and then we can talk about that afterwards.
That. Yeah.
But suffice it to say that this is a great time to think about and start putting plans together as far as possibly changing a club. So let me go to that now and share my screen.
He's a very good speaker.
And play it. The Kiwanis Foundation of Canada is pleased to bring you this presentation in our Kiwanis Post-Pandemic Education Series. We call it Kiwanis PPE. In this video, we'll be changing your club in 60 minutes. Since the start of 2020 and the advent of the coronavirus, we've had to think and act differently. Online meetings, social distancing, and masks have all become part of our new normal. What hasn't changed is our need to forge positive relationships, to support one another, and serve the children of our communities. Today, we just have to do things a little differently. And this gives us an opportunity to look closely at our Kiwanis clubs and ask ourselves, can we do better? To help reinvigorate us and move us forward, past international president Steve Siemens knows how to change your club in 60 minutes. Steve?
Man read a newspaper ad. It said 7-day cruise for $14.95. He called up the travel agency. He said, I see that you're offering a 7-day cruise for $14.95. There's got to be a mistake. Travel agent said, no, there's no mistake. We're offering a 7-day cruise for $14.95. So I went down to the travel agency, wrote out a check for $14.95, handed it to the travel agent. Travel agent took out a hammer, hit him in the head. He woke up the next day tied to a log floating down the river. He was mad, he was embarrassed, he thought, how foolish could I be? But here he is tied to a log floating down the river. The next morning he woke up bright and early, floating down the river, was having a wonderful time, when he floated up alongside another log with a man tied to a log, and he said, I wonder if they're serving refreshments on this cruise. The guy said they didn't last year. One of the reasons why our organization is not growing is because we are doing what we did last year. We are thinking like we thought last year. We are seeing like we saw last year. And I want to remind every person listening to this that you and I can change our club in 60 minutes. If you and I are going to stop doing what we did last year and become relevant and healthy and growing, all it takes is 60 minutes. Growth is an attitude. It's an attitude, but it is also your choice. Growth is a responsibility. Not only is it a responsibility of every one of us, but it is a choice. Growth is a commitment. It's going to cost us something to grow. It's going to cost us something to change. But even in that commitment, it comes right down to it. It's a choice. It's a privilege. It's something that you and I can do, but it is a choice. In fact, it's a mandate. But again, it's a choice. So the question is, why haven't we been growing? Why have we lost that passion to grow, to change? Well, we've become very comfortable. It's just easier to do what we did last year. It's just easier to repeat what we did last year, to think like we thought last year, to see like we saw last year. And as an organization and as clubs, we have become very comfortable. We don't see the big total picture. We're either growing or we're declining. You never stay the same. And if you and I are going to see the big picture, we're understanding the importance of either going up, because if we're not going up, we are going down.
Your favorite here.
Yep.
We don't like to change. There have been many opportunities for people to change, for clubs to change, but we don't like change. That's one reason why we're not growing. We've lost our vision, and it doesn't fit our mission at times. And when you and I have no vision, as the verse says, people perish. It's important that you and I understand a lack of growth is a lack of vision. We're doing the same old thinking, getting the same old results. And as Albert Einstein said so wisely, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we created them. It is so important that you and I understand that growth happens at the club level. So if you and I are going to get serious about changing our club in 60 minutes, I want to share with you some ways that we can do that and some things for us to think about. It's really simple. In fact, it is so simple that most clubs, most leaders, most members miss it. The first thing that you and I have to do is believe that we can grow. We're a product of our beliefs. If you don't believe your club can grow, it's not going to grow. If you don't believe you can change, you will not change. So the first requirement is that we need to believe. There are two facts that I want to begin our time together with by sharing. The first is Healthy clubs grow, unhealthy clubs make excuses. So the question is, are you growing or are you making excuses? And the second fact is, healthy clubs ask, unhealthy clubs apologize. So I'm assuming we want to be a healthy club. I'm assuming that we want to be a growing club. I'm assuming that we want to be a fun club. And if that's the case, there's some things that we need to specifically do, because you can change your club in 60 minutes. It's a formula. It's a P plus P plus P plus P formula. 4 P words that are going to make a difference in helping change your club. And the first is to understand that we have 168 hours each week. In fact, we have 10,080 minutes each week. You and I understand that you can have 60 minutes in a month to change your club. It's not impossible. It's not overwork. It's not something that's unrealistic. It's something that can happen, and I want to show you how. The perspective is this. In 60 minutes, you can make 5 phone calls or 2 visits. In 60 minutes, you can write 5 letters, or you can ask 2 people to join Kiwanis. In 60 minutes, you can encourage 4 members in your club and ask 1 person to join Kiwanis. And the perspective is, if we can get several of our members, we're not going to get all of our members to do this, but if we can get several, if we can get the majority of our members to start talking to each other as members, but also inviting and just giving 60 minutes every month, you will change your club. That's a perspective that will become a reality. And all it takes is 60 minutes. In 60 minutes, you can contact 3 new members of your club to make sure that they're bonding with your club. We do a good job of inviting people to join at times. We don't do such a good job of reminding them why they joined or bonding them to our club. In 60 minutes each month, you can make sure those new members are bonding and becoming a Kiwanian. If many of your members will give 60 minutes to your club will grow. And if you will give 60 minutes, your club not only will grow, it will glow. And in 60 minutes, your club will show exactly what it does in the community and make such a difference in changing the world or changing one child and one community at a time. So the purpose of this presentation is to help your club grow, to help your club glow, and to help your club show. That's the purpose. So what's the plan? Well, the A in ask is accept with enthusiasm the privilege of helping your club grow. It's so wonderful when you and I can ask someone to be a part of our club and our organization. When you do that with enthusiasm, people get excited. When you do that with enthusiasm, people are drawn to you. There's a momentum. There's a motivation. There's an excitement that is there. So the first part is just accept with enthusiasm the privilege of helping your club grow, and allow time in your schedule to spend a few minutes for Kiwanis. So simple, so easy. All we're asking you to do is accept with enthusiasm the job of helping your club grow and allow time in your schedule. 60 minutes. That's it. After you have made that commitment, then I want you to share with people how Kiwanis has made a difference in your life. The bottom line is this: I have people all over the world that are friends that I would have never ever met had it not been through Kiwanis. I live in a town in Iowa. I would have never ever met some of the people that's in our club, even though I live in a very small town, had it been not through Kiwanis. And when you and I start sharing the difference that Kiwanis has made in our lives, they're going to be interested in it because they want to be a part of something that's making a difference. Share your story and show them how it's made a difference. Suggest to them that they could help your club be better. What are some ways that they could bring that would help make your club better? And suggest to them, as you're talking to them, how their presence, how their membership would strengthen your club and help make your club better. People want to be a part of a solution. They want to be a part of something that's of significance and value. And the plan is really simple. Not only do you share how Quantus has made a difference in your life, but you suggest that they could make it even better, and then show them what your club is doing in your community. What would happen if your Quantus club left your town? Would there be a vacancy? Would there be a hole? Would there be a lack of influence? And show them what your club is doing so that they can see some of the many things that you're doing and see how they can be a part of it. So if we're going to ask, not only do we accept with great enthusiasm and allow time in our schedule, we share how Quantus has made a difference in our lives. We suggest that they could make it an even better club, and we show them what we're doing. And then we understand. Healthy clubs grow. Unhealthy clubs make excuses. So the question is, do you want to grow? Or are you going to keep making excuses? And to finish the plan, you and I need to keep in contact with the people that we have visited with. But use discretion and use tact. But make them know, or help them know, make them realize, help them realize that you really value them as a potential member, and help them see that you care about them, not just to be a member, but you care about them as a person, and kindle a desire for them to join you in making a difference. 60 minutes. What do you do? After you have shared the story, after you have showed them what you're doing, you keep in contact with them and you kindle a desire for them to want to join in making a difference. I want to remind you and show you that a plan is so simple. All you do is get the majority of your members to give 60 minutes. That's it. Out of 168 hours a week, 60 minutes a month. And all you and I need to do is ask. Healthy clubs ask. Unhealthy clubs apologize. It's a choice. It's a choice that you and I can make. And after you have made the ask, the process is to track the progress and to keep it fun, reward often, and watch it work. Because the bottom line is this: you can change your club in 60 minutes.
Well, there you have it. How to change your club in 60 minutes. And there is no better time to begin than now. Because let's face it, this pandemic has necessitated change whether we like it or not. So let's choose to like it. Add some accountability to the mix, and you've got yourself a surefire recipe for success. Kiwanians love rewards, so why not reward the member who makes that first call or invites that first guest to your next virtual meeting? Maybe divide the club into teams and reward the most successful team. Changing your club may only take 60 minutes, but it's up to you to start the clock. Why not start it today? So, how to change your club in 60 minutes. Before we talk about that, and of course we want to talk about that and do a little bit of brainstorming amongst the group of us here, let me just say that this is one of a series of videos that the Kiwanis Foundation of Canada has sponsored, and you can reach them all. We have 5 of them up there right now by going to the Kiwanis Foundation of Canada website, and that's just KFCDN for Kiwanis Foundation, CDN for Canada, kfcdn.org. And once you're there, you can kind of scroll down a little bit and you'll come across a big button and link to our post-pandemic videos. And if you click on that, you'll go to the page that lists them all, of which this is one of them. And you can see that we have one that talks about Zoom meetings itself, because we're doing a lot of those, and gives some suggestions and practices on maybe how to do better Zoom meetings so that it won't get all as zoomed out. There's the You Can Change Your Club in 60-minute video that we just watched, but you can watch it again or share it with others in your club. We also have one on virtual fundraising, because more and more clubs are using virtual fundraising to continue doing what they're doing. And there's also one that called Keys to Successful 2021. As we start to move through and out of the pandemic, it becomes more and more important. And finally, and this will be near to Bob and my heart, one specifically devoted to opening new Kiwanis clubs virtually at this time, where we can't go into businesses and meet with them, et cetera. At least we can't here in Ontario at this point in time. So those are a number of videos that you can find on the Kiwanis Foundation of Canada website. So looking then at the video, in question, and I'm making the assumption that everyone here has a desire to change the club in 60 minutes. Let me just look at a couple of those slides, if we can, and just ask for general thoughts from the group. Obviously, I think we know that we can't do the same things that we've always done and expect different results. So well, first of all, the clubs that you're involved with, maybe you could tell me a little bit about them. Are they large clubs? Are they under charter strength? Are they close to charter strength? How would you describe them?
Well, I think Gary probably just, speaking for the club that I'm at in Okotoks, certainly just from recent history on what we did in the way of what we called a volunteer information night, meet and greet, whatever you kind of want to call it. And I know other clubs in our district have held them, and it's something that we're going to talk a little bit about in the next session. But we found that when we hosted ours, prospective members were more comfortable actually coming out to a Zoom meeting because they can do it right from their living room or their office instead of going into a room full of strangers and Kiwanians that they don't know. I think they're much more comfortable viewing some volunteer information on a Zoom meeting, a Zoom screen. We answer a lot of questions. To be honest, even if we return to some sort of normality after the pandemic, I think Zoom meetings and Zoom sessions are going to be part of our arsenal now, I think, going forward.
And I've heard that before, Dennis. In fact, I was talking with Jeff Otis, who's the COO down in Indianapolis with Kiwanis International, and his own club is going to be doing exactly the same thing as they open up. They're going to be doing hybrid meetings where they, because he himself was saying, hey, it takes him an hour to get downtown from the KI office and then an hour back. It's a lot easier for him to Zoom in, even though I think we all probably can agree we just don't have that same sense of fellowship and comradeship that you do when you're face to face. Clearly, are other clubs meeting by Zoom? Is there anybody here not meeting?
Yeah, so we in Cochrane we're meeting by Zoom, and we've basically introduced a lot of fun into a Zoom meeting. Starting we always have we now have a 15-minute pre-Zoom meeting, social type deal. So we share a glass of wine, or we have an inspirational thing and whatever kind of thing. And of course our members would like to. We're looking forward to be able to meet again on a barbecue to just do a little bit of socializing. But just like what Dennis said, I think we've kind of decided that we're going to have a lot of membership recruitment through Zoom meet and greet type meeting. As a matter of fact, we're kind of planning to have another one probably sometime in June at this point in time, just before the summer vacation for the kids and whatever kind of thing. So
Good.
that's been our experience.
Maybe
Good.
Gary, I could ask you if you could stop sharing so we could see everybody on the screen while we chat for a few minutes. Perfect. There we go. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'll make a comment, Gary, that brings you up to date on the many years that have gone by since you and I were in Toronto together. The past governors in Western Canada developed a virtual recruiting program, and it was hard to get off the ground until Dennis and I and a couple of others in Okotoks, I belong to that club and also to the Northmount Club, got it going and trained, in effect, the whole of the Okotoks Club, and it worked. There was about a 40% increase in membership the evening of the presentation. And we won't go into what the training actually looks like, but you can guess it. It's a virtual training, right? Well, now it's starting to snowball, and it's so nice. The largest club in the Calgary and Okotoks and Cochrane and Airdrie area, which is the Northmount Club, is now going through the same process. I'm going to train them. The Chinook Club, I trained them a week ago, and they're presently putting together their prospect lists. And then, pleasant surprise, got a call from Nancy, or Roland got a call from Nancy, and they contacted me by email out here at the cabin. And isn't that right, Nancy? We're going to start to train the Airdrie Club, right? So,
Yeah.
So the snowball is happening. I just
Bob, when you're training, what are you training them in, or what kind of things are you giving them ideas like Roland was talking about to?
Actually, it's a pretty simple plan, right? It's how to create prospect lists, right? How to get them out of their comfort zone, right? Right. We cause them to own the lists that they create. We, the committee, create bigger lists of businesses, chambers of commerce, projects that we've helped out in the past. So we end up with a list of about 70 odd prospects. And then we come up with a system that is very, very uninvasive to contact those prospects 3 times, right? Before we have the Zoom meeting. And it's good stuff that we send them. We at Okotoks developed a newsletter that has a Dare to Dream portion on it, right? Something that's never happened in Western Canada before. What would our club look like if there was 5 or 10 new members, right? We put that in print. We invite our guests to talk about those things at the meeting. And the long and short of it is, at the end of the day, we have a great guest speaker. We don't do any closing at the meeting at all. We cause the members to close themselves, right? Unless they feel uncomfortable with that. But this is so non-invasive. There's no pressure to it, right? And the process works. And I just think it's going to happen across Western Canada, except for the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that if you're trying to teach a unhealthy club, right, how to recruit members in any fashion, traditional, right, or Zoom, right, it's not going to work until you address the problem. The problem being they are not proud of their Kiwanis club. So you've got to teach them how to do that before you teach them how to grow the club.
You're right, and that goes back to that first day of the ask. They have to accept that there has to be a change, so that they have to want to change. You're absolutely right. One of the challenges I think that I've come across when doing training similar to what Bob's talking about is implementing elements of accountability. I mean, you talk about it, people get fired up, but then they go away, and how do you do that? How do you make sure that they actually stick to the plan, whether it's the plan that Bob's talking about or a modification of that, and actually follow through a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months down the road? Any ideas?
I think it's regular contact with your club members. I mean, You can't just sort of send them away to do their own thing and not be staying in contact. Regular meetings, setting up the committee that you've got so that your committee are checking in with your members. So everybody still feels that it can be a daunting project to grow your club, and members need to know that they're not alone in the task, that you've got 10 or 15 or 50 members, whatever it might be. So.
Dennis is absolutely correct. And it is that steadfast, regular contact with the members. I go back to the program that we implemented in my club back when I was president, not that many years ago. And what I did there is I got 4 Kiwanis hats, baseball caps. And I mean, we all have drawers full of Kiwanis pins that we've gotten from conventions or midwinters or this sort of thing. And I split the club into 4 teams. I chose 4 past presidents from the club and made them captains of the team, and then just arbitrarily assigned members to that team. And it became kind of a fun sort of a thing. We had a baseball theme on it because they're baseball caps, obviously.
Good
And then
idea.
every meeting thereafter, throughout the entire year of my presidency, I'd open it up after doing Canada and the rest, and I'd bring up these caps, and I'd call on the team captain, and if any of the members of their team had brought a guest to the meeting, they would get a pin that was put in their cap. Those members didn't have to join, but they just had to come out to the meeting. My thinking as president was, it was my job as a club president to try to come up with a fun, inspirational, motivational meeting, a little bit along the lines that Roland was talking about, adding some fun into it. And as Bob was saying, trying to add some take-home value. I wanted the members just to bring people out. I didn't care if they joined, because I knew that if I did my job right, they would join if they actually left saying, hey, that was a good meeting. If it wasn't a good meeting, they wouldn't. And they weren't all. I mean, sometimes it's hit and miss. But I did this every single week. We met weekly. And sometimes there were no guests. I'd still bring the hats out, and I'd say, Team Bob has 4 guests, and there'd be 4 pins on it. Team Roland has 5, and then I go to Team Hazel. She's a 10. Everybody would kind of applaud, or this sort of thing, that kind of thing, etc. And sometimes week after week there was no change, but throughout the course of the year there were changes. But going back to what Dennis said, it had to be steadfast. I couldn't let a week go by without them at least thinking about it. And throughout the course of the year, I mean, they brought out dozens of guests all together, and we ended up growing our own club by 15 members, which was a significant amount for us because we were a fairly small club. We were sitting around 20-25 members at the time, so it was a pretty high percentage increase over that year. But it had to be done constantly. It had to be done all the time.
Thank you, Gary. For respecting our time here, because I know our next session starts in about 6 minutes. I did just want to kind of close off this one. Just this number one, say, Gary, thank you very much for taking some time to join us in Western Canada for our session this morning. We really appreciate it.